What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at Hollow Man, directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring Kevin Bacon. Hollow Man tells the story of Sebastian Kane, who is a scientist trying to find a formula to generate subjects invisible. After testing this serum on himself, his colleagues are unable to render him back to a normal state, and thus he starts to go insane and starts to just go on a kill frenzy rampage. All right, that's the story of Hollow Man. Let's talk about it. Hollow Man is what it is. It's a movie that is inspired by both the Invisible Man novel and the Invisible Man movie, the 1933 version. So what are my overall feelings on Hollow Man? I thought this movie was pretty good. I thought it was decent. It's not the greatest thing you'll ever see. I think this movie has a lot of problems, specifically with how it writes its main character. But it also has some things that I thoroughly enjoyed. So let's just get right into it and try and make this review as short and sweet as possible. The positives. I like the cast in this movie. Now, this movie got a lot of criticism for its acting, but I actually think the acting was pretty decent in this thing. I like Kevin Bacon as the character of Sebastian Kane. He gives the character a lot of charisma, a lot of charisma and screen presence. I think the writing of Sebastian Kane is very, very weak. From the start of the movie, Sebastian Kane's a dick, and it's really hard to like somebody who is just an obnoxious dick. He has a snarky attitude. He thinks he's holier than thou. I mean, to some extent, there's a little bit of likability to him. Like, he does have certain moments where he has a sense of humor. The one joke in this movie that I always remembered is him doing this joke about Wonder Woman, Superman, and the Invisible Man, which I thought was hilarious. But throughout the course, but the first half hour, we see him as a human. He's an asshole. You know, he has an obsession with his ex-girlfriend. He thinks he's better than everyone else. And then when he goes invisible, it's like the negative traits that we already saw were just heightened up. Sebastian Kane as a character could have worked if he had more likability to him. If he had more vulnerable qualities to him, if we had something more to latch on to. We're supposed to feel sympathy for this man when he can't go invisible, and then he starts to go insane because he can't be visible again. We never got that in this movie. He was an asshole to start with, and he was an asshole to end with. And when he's invisible, his assholery gets ramped up to very concerning levels. He sexually assaults a neighbor that he's obsessed with. He kills everybody. He kills everyone on the research team that he's involved in, that he works with, as a way to, like, because now, since he's invisible, he wants to remain invisible, so he kills everybody associated with his team and what they did. You know, it's not like the Invisible Man movie where we had sympathy for Jack Griffin and we want to see him become invisible again. We see him struggling trying to find a formula when we're told that, you know, Jack is a decent person. Sebastian Kane, no. So, yeah. I mean, Kevin Bacon, the acting is fine. The writing of his character is very, very bad. I mean, make him somewhat likable. That's all I ask. And the movie fails. But like I said, performance-wise, nothing against Kevin Bacon. The supporting cast around him, you have Elizabeth Shue, who plays Linda, his ex-girlfriend. I like Elizabeth Shue. I thought she was fine in this movie. Josh Brolin plays a character called Matt, who has a close association with both Elizabeth and Sebastian. I'm a big fan of Josh Brolin. I liked him in this movie. I remember when I saw this movie back in 2000, I actually forgot that Josh Brolin was in this movie. Then again, I saw this movie when I was 10 years old. I ain't gonna remember actors. So after watching it again now, being a fan of Josh Brolin, I liked it. I thought he was pretty good in this movie. He played a nice little role, especially in the climax when he and Linda got to fight off Sebastian after he kills off the research team one by one. And speaking of which, the actors who played the research team, I all thought fit their roles fairly well. Kim Dickens, she's in this. She makes an appearance in this movie as a character called Sarah, who clashes with Sebastian a lot with his ethics, with his certain ethics. You know, she was fine in the role. And you have the two characters who played Janice and I forget the other character's name. He was in Twisters, like a nerdy-looking guy. He was fine in the movie too. And then you have Greg Grunberg, who played Carter, who makes an appearance in this movie. I thought they all fit the roles fine. You know, Grunberg's character was meant to be more or less the comic relief type of character because he has some funny bits. But, you know, that is what it is. Production values of this movie, I liked it. For a 2000s movie, the CGI is surprisingly well. How they The effects of the invisibility, they look pretty cool. Then again, you have Paul Verhoeven. This is the same guy who did Total Recall and RoboCop. So of course, the special effects in this movie are going to look really, really cool. I mean, he's done other movies too, but I haven't seen those movies. I'm going based off what I've seen. So Verhoeven knows how to make his special effects look great, and he knows how to make the movie look good because of it. This movie's no exception. The special effects for 2000, to me, they still hold up. I mean, yeah, it's 2000 special effects, so it's not going to look as refined as it is now. But for its time, they look pretty cool. Especially when we get that first scene of Kevin Bacon turning invisible. It is fun to look at and fun to see how he slowly just starts to disintegrate into nothingness. Really, really well done. Really, really well done. And how they made the effects look realistic for the time, I got zero complaints on that. This movie presents itself as a science fiction movie, and for the most part, we get that. And then when you get to the second half, when he's invisible, it turns into a run-of-the-mill slasher. I think you could have easily fixed that by not going down the slasher route and have the horror pretty much be Sebastian Cain slowly losing his mind because of invisibility. But since he was already a dickhead to begin with, that kind of like gets lost in translation a little bit, which I don't like. When he becomes invisible, he turns into a homicidal maniac and a bit of a misogynist rapist. You know, when he's invisible, we see him, unbuttoning a woman's shirt. As I mentioned earlier, he sexually assaults his neighbor that he has an obsession with. And he tries to get back with his ex-girlfriend by killing off the Mac character because of his obsession because of it. It's like, again, the character of Sebastian Cain could have worked if he had more vulnerability and more of a good-hearted nature to him instead of just this cynical assholery, which makes him unlikable from the start. I mean, Kevin Bacon's charm as an actor can only go so far if the character he's portraying has nothing really going for it aside from being a dickhead. And that's, like I said, as I mentioned earlier, that's this movie's greatest flaw. Its main character needs to be likable, especially when he goes through this transformation of invisibility. And we kind of want to see him succeed at it. And at the same time, we want to see him get back to normal again. I mean, with Kevin Bacon, we just want to see his character get killed already because we know he's an asshole from the start. And now he's becoming a really, really bad threat and a worse villain and just all around worse because of it. So, yeah. There's more to talk about with Hollow Man. Those are just my general thoughts. Like, overall, I do think the movie is not that bad. I like the casting. I like the story and the premise. It has a lot of issues. But I'm not gonna lie. When Kevin Bacon's going on his killing spree, he does kill everyone off in some relatively creative ways. And there are a lot of good suspenseful shots and scenes in this movie. So I ain't gonna lie, and I do like the use of practical effects and CGI effects. Paul Verhoeven made it work, and he made it blend fairly naturally. So yeah, from a technical standpoint, this movie is great. From a casting standpoint, the acting is solid. This movie has a lot of story problems, which forces me to give it a solid 5 out of 10. Hollow Man could have been so much better if you would have fixed the main character and fixed a lot of the story problems. Maybe shy away from the slasher elements and have the horror be more of this, relatively mild-mannered man going insane and not being able to control his impulses and obsession with being invisible because it gives him this power because it gives him his power. Instead, you gave the power to a man who already thinks he's God, and now in his mind he becomes a literal God. Makes him unlikable, and I don't want to root for him to get better. I want to root for him to die. I shouldn't want that in an Invisible Man movie, but that's just my view personally. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for Hollow Man. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.